Hey guys, welcome back to the Strongwoman Chronicles podcast. Today we have Stephanie Bisignano, who I lovingly refer to as Bizingo. She is from Thunder Bay, Ontario. She is a professional Canadian strongwoman. She's been competing since 2017, earned her pro card in 2020, and she's here today to talk to us about something that I think a lot of athletes go through, but it's a bit of a tough subject, and it's injury. And it's not a fun subject just because you feel kind of alone, and like it's just not a fun time to go through an injury. I've been through one myself. I know a lot of my strong women friends have been through injuries, and it's just a topic where you feel kind of alone and like you're never going to come back. But Stephanie's coming back, and I'm very excited because she's coming out west to compete as strongest woman in Western Canada. And I can't wait to compete against you again. It feels like it's been forever. Like Swick just wasn't the same without you last year, truly. So anyways, welcome. Stephanie, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about yourself, that'd be great.
So like I said, I'm Stephanie Bisignano. I'm from Thunder Bay, Ontario. I won my pro card in 2020. I've been competing since 2017. Um, Sorry, this is where my brain farts on these
No,
things. I'm
that's
like,
okay.
I'm not good at
What
selling myself.
So when you got your pro card, what weight class did you win it in? And like, I guess
Um,
what technical weight class did you get your pro card in general?
I won my pro card in open. So at the time, I think that was when I first started, I was in, oh God, I can't even remember what the weight classes were then, but in kilos, but I know it was like
Right.
I would weight cut to like 154 when I first started. So I'd have to cut a leg off to do that now. So that's where I started. And then I decided, I think 2 years into that, it was when we switched to the same weight classes. Like I was looking at going up into light heavyweight. It was when we started lining our weight classes up with the Strongman Corp in the States, and then the U82
Right.
existed. So I was competing in that. And then in 2019, I just kind of decided I was still a U82 athlete, but I wanted to take a shot at my pro card. And at the time, the only way to do that was open. Um,
Right.
so I did my 2019 year as a U82 doing open shows. And then it was 2020. I continued with the open shows. I was kind of just into the cusp of open. I think I was,
Right. Right.
yeah.
You were the last pro woman aside from Haley Randall to get your pro card in CASA.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because
Oh,
that was the first year CASA had pro cards in every weight class, except they
yes.
originally didn't do middleweight that year because of the number of athletes,
Right.
um, and then did. Um, but yeah, that was the last year of CASA because then COVID hit and the world
Right.
shut down, and yeah, Strongman Corp Canada was born.
So, what happened that you needed to take a step back? Because it's only been recently, within the last 2 years. So, just go ahead and talk about like why you needed to take a step back.
So it was involuntary, obviously. You know how much I love the sport and how much I love competing. And
Yes.
I'm like a dog in a cage, like not competing right now.
Oh,
Um, we're making it work. Um, but so I started to notice I had this growth on my neck, which we've now have formally named Larry the Lump. Um, I noticed
lovingly.
it. Yeah, we don't exactly know where it came from. It ended up being a lipoma. There were like, they can happen on their own. They can happen from like trauma injury type things. I feel, and me, my sports medicine doctor kind of agree that we think that it started from, I had my neck cracked on two separate occasions by a chiropractor, no warning. And I tensed up. My osteopath was very upset about that happening. And the
Oh,
first time it had created issues, like it messed with my brachial plexus. I had just pressed 200 pounds for the first time. This was in 2019. And then couldn't overhead press an empty barbell. Nothing would function
oh
properly.
my God.
Yeah, yeah, it was great. So then I started seeing a muscle activation therapist along with my physio and everything, and she was my voodoo goddess. And then I still go to her now. She's amazing, Jackie Wilson, love her. Um,
Something
and
about a Jackie, isn't
I
it?
know, right? My favorites. So she like worked her magic, and we got it working again. And then There was another international comp I was at. Same thing. I went to the chiro about my ankle, and he's like, "Oh, let's check the rest of your body," and then cracked my neck. Wasn't expecting it, so I tensed up. And it was after that we saw there was a guy doing myofascial work, Vince. I don't know if you've met Vince along the way. He's wonderful. I miss him. He's amazing. You would love him. And he noticed that I was holding my neck, and Holly and I had made friends with him that year, and he was like, talk to me, like, what's going on? And I said what happened. So he had me on his table. He was working my neck out, and he's like, what's this? What's this lump? And I'm like, this is the first I'm hearing about it. And it was small. And he was like, we didn't know what it was. I'm like, I've never had it, but like this, yeah, I don't know. And so it's been there since then. It was small. It didn't cause any issues. I continued competing. And then within the last 2 years, it just started growing rapidly. When I finally, like, not last November, but the year before, finally got imaging on it, it was 5 point something centimeters on the
Holy.
ultrasound. And then by my MRI the next summer, so in August, it was 6.4 or something like that. And by the time they took it out the following November, Larry was a whopping 7 pounds or 7 pounds. Wow. Larry, I wish I knew how much he weighed. I wanted
7-pound baby.
yeah, 7 pound baby coming right up my shoulder. No, it was
Wow.
7 centimeters. 7 centimeters was
Wow.
the size of it. So I finally had found out what it was. My chiro was suspecting it was lipoma. He was kind of on my case about get it looked at, and I was like, oh yeah, because he's like, you have to get it removed. I was having a lot of shoulder issues, a lot of weakness, a lot of things happening, but I didn't equate it to the lump. I just kind of thought, I'm getting old. I don't know. Then,
Okay.
yeah, we're getting old. I don't know. But then I think it was around like my no-no. Um, he had esophageal cancer. We went through a lot of cancers with him, and then that, like, he passed from that. And we were sitting in the hospital when he was in the hospice care, and my aunt, my sister, like, we were dealing with that with him, and then I have this lump on my neck that we don't fully know what it is. So they just said, like, can you please get it checked out? I'm like, okay. So I finally did. Found out benign, totally fine. They even tested it after they took it out. No big deal.
Good.
It was partially encapsulated, so it had little fingers trying to grow in. So it was a stage 5 clinger. Great times.
Literally.
Yeah, digging right in. It's great. Which then risks more major surgery because it's infiltrating the muscle fibers, and then it's harder to get it out. And if there's any left in, it could grow back. So I'd finally got it looked at, went through the great Canadian healthcare system of waiting. When they made my referral in for surgery that December, they told me it was about a year and a half before I would even have like a consult. Thankfully, I got in early for my consult, and it ended up being the day after my MRI, which was perfect.
Amazing.
So they scheduled for it to be removed because it was causing issues. I was having a lot of problems. We equated it to being just the lipoma compressing things. It went from, like, as it was growing, it went from like weakness and like me noticing certain things in like events, like my overhead is one of my better events, and it started
Mm-hmm.
like being stagnant. I went from, like, I hit my 250 on axle and 250 on barbell
Push
to
press, right?
push press. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love push press.
Strong girl.
I love push press. Terry's had me doing a lot of push jerks. Split jerks,
Okay.
I can do. Push jerks, I am not coordinated for those, but there were
No.
so many good
Same.
benefits that happened in terms of like opening up my lats and everything again. But
Yeah.
God, I'm like, I can't do this. But yeah, like push press is my jam. I love push press. And then things started going downhill, like my rack position with log. I had no power output and stuff. And every time I would throw it forward way more than I ever did before. And I couldn't get the bar path to come up. And we would do mobility, we would try to figure out all of these things. And then I started seeing a sports medicine doctor, which was like amazing.
Yeah.
And we started talking about things that are happening from the imaging, especially when we got the MRI. Turns out, like, we know just from symptoms and things like that, that my vagus nerve was compressed.
Yep.
Now finding out that my thyroid was potentially compressed because of everything that was going on in there and where it
Oh
was.
my God.
Yeah, which explains a lot of the massive, insane cuts that I've had to do, that now I haven't
Yeah.
made too many changes. And since my surgery, I'm already down, the last time I weighed myself, it was like 45, 46 pounds of
You're looking
just
great.
surgery. Thank you. I'm working on it. Trying to get, but I
Yeah.
feel like I'm more like my joints are better. Everything's moving better.
Yeah.
My conditioning's coming back. My movement
Yeah.
events are going to be so much better and stuff. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, like, and in the MRI, it uncovered so many different things and made so much more sense of what's going on. So the lipoma was compressing things. It was compressing nerves. It was shutting off muscle groups. Things weren't functioning. Before Swick last year, when I had to pull out and I was going to come just for the trip anyways and drive down, I didn't trust myself to drive and I didn't trust myself to fly because I had
Right.
dizzy spells. My legs would get numb. There was so much stuff happening from all the compression in the area.
I'm pretty
Um,
sure I had to convince you not to come. Like you were dead
yeah,
set on
yeah,
coming just for like the road trip.
yeah,
And I was like, you are
yeah,
stupid. Do not do that. Like this is not a good idea. I love you
yeah,
and you could die
yeah.
in the middle of Manitoba and then like we'll never find you.
Take me out in a blaze of glory. Just kidding.
Manitoba is not a blaze of glory.
Yeah, yeah. Great times.
Sorry, I love
Love
my
it.
Manitobans.
Yeah, I'm also like middle of nowhere, Ontario, so everywhere is exciting.
Sure.
um, but yeah, so I like we ended up finding out through the MRI result, like I pulled it up here. So in the MRI, it ended up uncovering that I have stenosis in multiple areas. My C3, C4, I have like atrophy. I'm probably going to butcher words because this is how I am right
It's
now. It's
okay.
late.
Atrophy. Yep.
Um, in my like vertebrae. So I have um like mild stenosis there in the I always say this one wrong too, neural foraminal.
Yep.
Foraminal?
Foraminal. Yep.
Yeah, I butcher that word
You
every
did.
time. So I have mild stenosis there, and then my C3, that was my C3, C4, C4, C5. I have a disc bulge, atrophy there, moderate bilateral neural foraminal. I'm getting good with the word now. Stenosis, no significant spinal canal stenosis, but
That's
like
good.
there's a little bit. But then into my C5, C6 is where there's a disc bulge with the atrophy again, minimal spinal canal stenosis, and mild neural foraminal stenosis. So that's kind of where a lot of the problems were coming from. Like with the lipoma,
Yeah.
there's so much inflammation everywhere from all of these issues coming together, and things were compressed. And I didn't know. Like I was having breathing issues, like my diaphragm wasn't functioning properly. I'd get heart palpitations, dizzy
Wow.
spells. Yeah, it was like it impacted work. It impacted so many different things. And even on days that I wasn't training, like I had to pull back from so much stuff. And it was just, if my neck is in the wrong position for too long when I'm sitting at my desk at work, like we have the standing desk, at least I would adjust it, but I'd feel like a white hot pain go up my neck and stuff. So since the lipoma has been removed, a lot of the issues have gone. The like vagus nerve compression symptoms are gone. Um, there was a lot of hormonal issues and stuff that I was like going to a gynecologist for all these other things, all my cysts, all that.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure out where any of that was coming from. Those are fine now. So that's where we think the thyroid
Wow.
involvement is. Like I haven't had any issues. Things are like they were wondering if I was going into perimenopause already. And all that stuff's gone.
Wow.
Everything's fine. Everything's normal. My mood, I felt at some points that I was so like my ADHD medication was doing nothing. And then I took a day of not taking it to see if it would make a difference. It was doing something. It was doing something. I was so much worse without it. I was like, okay, we're
It
gonna go
does
back
make a
on it.
difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna take it, even though I feel like it's not working. And now it's totally fine. I didn't change my dose. I didn't want to up anything. I just left it
Wow.
as is. Once that came out, things like all of that, I didn't realize how much would happen because of everything that was going on, and then the chronic
Yeah.
pain. My moods are so much better. Like I don't know. I mean,
That's crazy. So how's training been now after it's like how has it been slow? Has it been like it's quickly coming back? Like how's that been?
Um, it's been up and down. So
Okay.
some things came back pretty quickly. Um, I mean, I feel like you and I have had this conversation before about the unrealistic expectations that I set of myself of like,
Yes.
I should be back to 100% because they told me
Yeah.
once the lipoma was out, it's going to heal as if I had stitches. Months later, I find out that it actually was attached to the muscle. So they did have to cut into my muscle. So our recovery time was based on them not cutting into my muscle. And
Right.
So that kind of delayed things. That was found out when I was training for the Arnold, and it wasn't even during a training day that I flared everything up. I was feeling okay. Log wasn't going great, but it wasn't
Right.
terrible. Like things were coming back. Things felt good. I'm like, okay. And then I was getting ready for work and I was pulling on skinny jeans and I felt something pop in my neck. So that's why I wear leggings all the time. And I felt something pop, but not
Oh.
like it just then felt like I couldn't turn my neck. I slept on my neck wrong, but it was weird. So what we like talking to my sports medicine doctor, he thinks it was just scar tissue building up. It moved
Mm,
as it would in the area, but it caused more inflammation. And then as soon as
right.
inflammation
Yes.
gets to the area, everything shuts down and I can't like do regular things. Sleeping hurts. Like I wake up every 5 seconds. It just there's so much stuff going on in my neck that
Yeah.
it's normal for me now, but when I actually sit and talk about it and put it all out there, I realize like how significant it actually is because I'm messing with my spinal cord. I'm messing with a lot of that stuff. So now I'm at a place in training. We were able to take care of the flare up as much as possible. We're really focusing on just anything that can draw the inflammation out. And then, but going back into trying to prep for Brink, thinking, okay, I'm not 100% out of this flare up. I'm going to do Brink and it's going to be fine. And I'll go through the show and whatever. And as soon as I started doing log again, the neck extension, my neck can't do it right now. So with
Gotcha.
regular overheads, I've been able to get them a little bit back because I can adjust my neck positioning. With log, I can't. Like
Right.
I don't really have room to be able to do it. I can't exactly do
Yeah.
log neck upright.
Yeah, you really got to put your neck back for log.
Yeah, so it would flare it up again, and I would have a day of doing log. Things would pinch off, things would shut off. I could feel nothing would set properly. I'm still balancing a lot of things in my shoulder blades and in my
Right.
shoulders, and then it would be pain for 3 4 days after that session and impact everything else. And then once I pulled log out again, um, like I pulled log out of my training, Terry and I kind of diverted into more of a rehab block because I keep
Yeah.
wanting to do these shows and he advises me against them, but will try to help me get where I want to go as safely as possible. And
Yeah.
now the stuff that we've been doing, now that I pulled out of shows has been making a world of difference. Like we're doing so much more
Good.
intentional training. I'm feeling the activation of the power coming back into the shoulder blade area, like into my traps,
Good.
into everything that feels like it wasn't functioning is now starting to again. And I think we're on a good train with,
Wow.
um, yeah, with the recovery, as long as I don't turn around and be like, guess what, Terry? I'm doing a competition for funsies next week. He would drive from Texas and kill me.
Yeah,
Um,
he would kill you.
I drive him crazy. It's fun. That's the basis of our.
It's that is just so crazy how much, and like I know this because like that's what I studied in university, right? But like it's just I don't think people understand how much is affected by one little thing because like your thyroid was affected, your hormones were completely affected, like everything, like your breathing, your diaphragm, like so much goes into one little thing,
Yeah,
like that is insane.
it was wild. And like just the mental piece of it too, of like, I'm known to be somebody that competes through injuries that she shouldn't compete through.
Yeah.
Cindy,
Yes, you are.
never, never. What are you talking about? Yeah, like my broken foot, like
Yeah.
flying into a hurricane on a broken foot, competing at OSG, place
Yep.
16th.
You did break your foot. She dropped
Yeah.
just for context, there was a record breaker and she was doing farmers and she was going for the record and she was walking, walking, walking and it slipped out of her hand and dropped on her foot and she broke her foot and then she still decided to compete at OSG and she flew into a hurricane to Florida and still competed on a broken foot.
It was a great time. I figured part of me was like, oh, well, when I get there, if it's because initially Canadian healthcare system, I went to the hospital and they told me that they didn't see a sign of a break. So it's not broken, but if it doesn't get better in a week, come back because it's probably broken, was the medical advice I received. My friend, like Jess,
Perfect.
had come with me and her and I were like, pardon. And then sure enough, I went back and my chiro and I obviously talked about it. And he said, well, they're not going to see a sign of a break right away because the amount of inflammation that was in your foot.
Yeah.
So they saw it after. And that was, I don't think I went back until a couple of days before flying out.
Oh my God.
And so I figured I'm gonna go anyway. It was in Florida. I'm gonna go worst case scenario. I can't compete, and I'm gonna go like
To
enjoy
Disney.
and Disney and cheer my friends on in Florida. It's not the worst place to not compete. But then I got there, we had the hurricane ordeal. I'm like, I did not weight cut through an entire hurricane, have to like relocate from our hotel from
Yep.
Daytona to Orlando, mid hot bath burrito method. Like it was me and Peyton in the Airbnb. Holly's got a hotel in Orlando, and I'm bath burritoing because we were gonna stay, and we were like, okay, we're just gonna weather the storm. It's fine. My dad's telling me, go to Tallahassee, go to the Panhandle. I'm like, I don't even know what you're telling me. And yeah, we decided we were gonna stay, and then we started getting water coming in on our balcony, and Peyton's like, we have to go. I'm like, I'm naked in a blanket burrito. Give me a second. And then we had to
Did
carry
not
all
weight
of our
cut for this.
well, then we had to carry our thing. We left some things there, hoping that it wouldn't get swept into the ocean, which it didn't.
Oh,
But
good.
we were on the seventh floor. Elevators are already shut down. I'm on a broken foot, so thank God I had my air cast with me and fucking put my air cast on. And we had to carry our things down the stairs from the seventh floor to the vehicle and drove. So I'm like, I did not go through this entire ordeal and made weight to not compete. So I
Oh
competed,
my God. How
and I
much
knew it was
tape did
going
they
to
use on you?
I didn't initially put tape on, but then yeah, and then Therese made me put tape on. So we take my foot up. Um
Good.
yeah, yeah. Terry to this day still tells me that I gaslit him as a client about the state of my foot. It's fine. I'm competing. By the way, it's broken. He's like, yeah, then I watched you try not to limp off the floor, but you were limping off the floor. I'm like, no, I wasn't.
Yeah, you definitely gaslit him.
Sorry, Terry.
So,
Sorry, Terry.
what was going through your mind when you found out that you needed surgery for
Honestly,
Larry the Lob?
I thought it would be more like upsetting, but because of how mild of a surgery the lipoma removal itself was, and if we found out before he cut into me that it was attached to muscle, because we didn't know until he was in there doing his thing and I was awake, because it's just they freeze it and you're awake and you listen to the whole thing. Yeah.
Ew.
I was terrified. There's a reason I did not go into nursing. I cannot handle that kind of stuff, but it also interests me. So but yeah, so we didn't
Hmm.
know until he was doing the surgery, when he was like, oh, he knew it was partially encapsulated from the MRI, but the MRI was more for whatever was going on in my neck. So part of it wasn't shown in the imaging.
Oh,
And that's when we found out it was attached, but it was enough that he didn't have to, because if it was like embedded right in there, which it probably would have been if I actually had to wait the year and a half,
mhm.
um, it would have been, they would have had to knock me out. It would have been a more major surgery with a longer recovery time. He was able to get it out without having to close me back up and reschedule the surgery. So because everything, like I was nervous, but because I haven't really had surgery, but everything that they kind of explained to me was like, oh, a lipoma, and everything I looked up, it's like, oh, it's easy. They cut it, they pop it out, they stitch you back up, you go home, it's fine. So I'm like, okay, well, and then thinking like once it comes out, the compression is gone. You're going to be able to do physio rehab and you'll be back at it in no time. I'm like, perfect. Like I was excited to finally get a surgery date.
Mhm.
Like I cried. The only thing that I was upset about was how close it was to Swick, and that it wasn't far enough away that I could still do it, because Swick last year had
Right.
my jam for events, like heavy yoke, a max
Yep.
yoke attempt. Like I did 800-pound yoke for when I was doing my OSG qualifier, not for the full 20 feet, but that's what I was going to train for, 800 plus.
Yep.
And I was so excited for it and absolutely could not. Um,
Was that this last week?
yeah, because the record breakers had a
Okay,
yoke.
yeah.
There was the
Yep,
heavy
that's
yoke
right.
medley, and then because I was already training yoke, and I've been asking Terry to let me max out my yoke, and he usually says no because I don't need to. So I was like, guess what they have there? Guess who's
Yeah.
maxing out their yoke? So he was in support until my neck.
Valid.
Yeah. So one day somebody will give me
Hmm.
the opportunity to max out a yoke one day.
Might
Um,
be me.
yeah, it'd be great. So yeah, like it it was exciting to know that I was getting the surgery. It was when I found everything else out, and
Right.
the severity of things, and it being more than a broken foot. It was, my spinal cord is now involved. And
Yeah.
the conversations my sports medicine doctor and I have had about the path forward. He's great. He is really great. Like he is very much about like he's familiar with the sport because where he grew up
Good.
with in Ontario, one of the Ontario pro guys is from there. So I didn't have to explain what our sport was. He knew, and he's been a
Right.
godsend with everything. We've been getting closer to certain conversations that weren't part of it before, like the longevity of my Strongwoman career, what comes next, what do we do if the next method doesn't work or doesn't fix things. Um, so that's more where like the mental side of things kind of comes from and where it gets hard.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah,
the
for sure.
surgery for me, the surgery and the like the procedure, like I have to get a cortisone injection in my neck. So I have to go to Toronto for it or wait a year to get it in Thunder Bay. So I have a consult
Toronto.
on 20. Yeah, I have a consult on June 23rd. And then
Okay,
the
good.
date should be shortly after. So
Good.
I'll get that. And then we see if that takes and how long I get out of it and get the relief and it gets the inflammation out. And if we can get back to regular things. If not, then we have to have conversations about other options, which would be a riskier surgery than just getting a lipoma removed, or if we just refocus how my competing career is going to go. So, but we're not there
Right.
yet. Those
Yeah.
conversations are coming closer on the table, but he's
One
very
thing at a time.
adamant that we're not there yet. And
Yeah.
he thinks that this will be the last thing that I need as long as it takes. Because he said if he could do it in his office the day that I was there talking to him, he would have. So,
Well, and I've heard a lot of really good things about cortisol, and I've seen it work really well for a lot of different people. So, and I mean, like, it's not like the lipoma was in there for over 2 to 3 years. It was in there for a relatively short amount of time ish. And I mean, it
he was
didn't, if
big
it was
for
in
the
there
short,
for,
because
sorry?
we first found it in 2021.
Okay, gotcha.
But it didn't start growing significantly it wasn't large and causing the issues that it's causing for longer than I'd say 2 years ago. two
Okay.
years.
But I mean, if it was in there longer than 3 years, then I'm sure we're dealing with a lot more issues. But
Mhm.
I mean, and this is me just being positive and just like
Mhm.
wanting to see you have a good long career in this, just because like you're a really positive influence in this sport and like you really love the sport. And like we need more women like that in this sport. Like we have a lot of those women, but in general, like strongman is a sport for the weirdos, and like to have a place where you feel like you belong is really special and like you're a really positive influence in this sport. So having people like you is really important. So like this is just me being selfish, being like, don't go anywhere, please. But at the same time, like your health does need to be considered. So what is the ultimate motivator that's kept you going through all of this? Because this is not easy information to take and like to be realistic with your doctor and sit down and say, this could go this way or it could go this way. So, what's been the ultimate motivator that's kept you going through all of this?
I think a lot of it is like there's like a couple of things like the internal stuff of like how much I love this sport. Like I love competing in it, I love watching it, I love being around it and stuff. I love what it did for me getting into it in terms of like my own confidence and personal growth and the stuff that I've learned about myself and my ability to push through things and to do things that I never thought I'd be able to do, and things like that. So I feel like there's a lot like there's that identity connection to the sport is like this
Right.
is what my life has been since 2017. This is I've put things on hold and sacrificed things to do it, but it doesn't feel like an obligation because I've done those things. It's because I generally love and I was willing to
Yeah.
do those things and be a part of it. The other piece is people like you and the people that I've met along the way that have been encouraging and that have well, I think about it right from the first rebellion. I think about that. And I think I've talked to you about this before and Bailey, that you were the first two pro women that took me under their wing and invited me out for food. And I felt like I've been a
Yeah,
fish
the
out of
boys
water.
still are not happy over that.
What? Oh,
The boys still don't love you for that.
well, if I get served first.
True.
Show up late, my food's ready.
Every single time. Well, I actually met you in 2017 at Nationals. You
Yeah,
recorded my yoke set, I think, and I had no
yeah.
idea what I was doing. And you and the Thunder Bay group were just an awesome bunch of goofballs. And I was like, I like you people.
Oh, that was yeah, we had a fun time that nationals. But
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
meeting people along the way and then being able to actually like hang out and you guys like yeah, just taking me under your wing and like that kind of thing and like that friendship is just built and grown over the years and stuff and I don't think even if I weren't competing that friendship wouldn't end. You're stuck with me, sucker. Sorry.
You're stuck with me, so good luck, loser.
Perfect. But like, yeah, like just the community of it and everything. It's just the motivation to get back because I know how much I love it and how much it's done for me
Mm,
because just mentally dealing with this injury, if this was a few years ago, I'd be a hot mess. And don't get me wrong, there are days that I am. I have my meltdowns, I have my temper tantrums way less frequently than ever before. Like I feel like I'm been able to learn a lot about being patient with it and being patient with myself and um focusing more on the positive like I don't focus on the oh we have to consider whether or not I'm going to be able to continue to compete at the way I'm competing at some days. Yeah, that flashes through when I have a bad training day and
mhm,
my shoulder decides to not function because of everything coming down from my neck and all the problems that I'm having with it, but I know there's a path forward. I know that there's another option coming and I'm holding on to hope for it and I'm not going to let that go. And if that option doesn't work, okay, next, what do we try next? Okay, what do we try
yeah.
next? Because and which is it's been the biggest shift and change for me is being able to do that instead of living in this despair of oh my god nothing's working because things have gotten better, things are improving, things are slowly getting there. I have the right team on my side, I have the right practitioners, I have the right coach for all of this, like because the
Mm,
mental and physical support that Terry has given me is like incredible.
yeah. Having
So
the right coach is everything.
oh yeah.
Well, and I remember I was chatting with you and just messaging you on Instagram when this first all went down, and like you were pretty down in the dumps, and it was I didn't necessarily know how to relate to it just because it was like beyond my scope of comprehension because it's never happened to me before or anything like that has happened. But at the same time, it was just like, you're going to go through this and you don't know what's going to happen on the other side. Like you just have to go through it and then see what happens. And like you'll come back. Like you're the one of the most stubborn women I know. You're going to come back. It's just a matter of you need to be patient and admit where you're at that day, that week, that month, and like take note of it because you'll probably get better the next month and then you'll probably get better the month after that. So, but I mean that all, like you said, it's all who's in your corner. And like I'm also not one to give up. I'm kind of a stubborn bitch for a lack of better words. But at the same time, like you are who you surround yourself with, right? So you have a good coach, you have a good chiro, you have a good osteo, you have a good doctor, and you have the right friends in your corner too that are supporting you. So I feel like that plays a big part. And it's just like, yeah, you try the next thing because you never know.
Hmm. Yeah, like I even think of the perspective of like my training partners at the gym, like um
Yeah.
yeah, because Colin and James and I will talk about like one of us will have a bad training session and we're like upset about what we hit. And then the next time, and then we're giving advice, but it's easier to give than to give it to ourselves. It's easier to give it to everyone else. And then we were all talking about it one day and all three of us had like bad training days, but the numbers that we hit, like I'm mad that I was still hitting in a 200-pound range, like within over 200-pound overhead press, but it wasn't the 220 for reps, the 230 for reps, getting up to the 250 again. So I was mad. And
Yeah.
James had something else about with his squat. And I can't remember what he had hit, but what he had hit was insane. And James and Colum, same thing with one of his. And then James put it into perspective. He's like, do you ever think that like you're mad about an over 200-pound press? I'm mad about this for my squat. Column's mad about this. Do you remember when we were dreaming about hitting these numbers?
Yeah.
Absolutely dreaming about them, and on our worst days we're still hitting them, and that's like stuck, and that's the motivation that I try to have is like I've gotten past this before. I understand that there's things in my body happening that I can't control as much right now, but what I can control is how I work around it, how I get my mindset around
Yeah.
it, how I get back to those numbers, and how I
Yeah.
trust the process and the doctors and the medical things and find the path
But that in
forward.
itself is kind of motivation, isn't it? Because it's like
Mhm.
the numbers you used to hit and it's pissing you off that you're not hitting it. And it's just like, oh, and that in itself is a fire and a big motivator that propels you to overachieve it. Like not overachieve in a bad way, but like achieve it and then some.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because like I know a lot of women, and like I look at Bailey's a great example, and like next up in line is going to be Monica, and like I look at Annabelle, and like all these women who are having babies or have had babies, and like a lot of us women in Strong Woman who want babies, but like, ooh, we're scared of the post baby. You see these women on the other side who are like, I love my body now. My post baby body is so strong. And like it's like, okay, that in itself is like motivation, because it's like these women come back stronger, and that's crazy because they have a fire and they have a point to prove, where it's like, I need to be better than what I was. I need to get back to who I was. And then that fire ultimately overshoots them past what they were.
Mhm. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's so inspiring to see it that way and then take it into any kind of injury or anything that we're facing. The issue that I think that I have is that I set unrealistic timelines for myself and I don't give myself that time. And just because it's such a weird thing, because I keep like, I look at it as, well, I competed through it and it was fine, but I wasn't competing well. I wasn't competing.
Yeah.
I was in pain a lot. I was like, things were starting to take that downward turn. And now I
Yeah.
know more about why and what we're doing to fix it. But like me trying to jump into a prep, and then I'll give myself a couple weeks and then jump into another prep. And like, oh, things feel a little bit better. Like I think I tagged Terry in something that was like, about how your injuries feeling better. Guess I better max something. I can't remember what it was. And then I was like, oh yeah, this is like dealing with me as a client. I get it. But like looking at women that like took their time with the timelines and then not focusing on people that have had quicker timelines. That's the other piece of it too, that comparison of like, well, so
Huge.
and so came from like a super major injury, this, that, the other thing. Why am I not able to come back? So and so competed with, an injured thing in their back. Why can't I with my neck and things like that? And like making that comparison and then trying to rush my recovery is
Hmm.
what I keep doing. And then I keep setting myself back and setting myself back. And like Terry and I talked about the year that I did, what I do 9 shows in one year, and 6 of them were between August and December. He
Oh
wanted to
my
kill me.
God.
He wanted to kill me. And
Yeah.
then he's like, and then what happened at the end of the season? I'm like, that's when I broke my foot. So not my fault. That was a freak accident. But I also then rush back wanting like, oh, okay, well, we're going to recover my broken foot and I'm going to do the Arnold. And then I tore my calf at the Arnold. So like a partial tear
That's
hurts.
right.
Yeah. Part because I jumped right back into it, and he was being a coach and saying like, like this is the risk of what could happen, but also letting me make my own decisions and stuff. And like,
Hmm.
I'll try to get you there as safe as possible, but you need to understand that these are the things that could happen. These are, and like, it just has been amazing with it and stuff. And then we worked through it. And so this time it's like me recognizing that I can't just keep trying to rush myself into it because this is my identity, because I love the sport, because I want to be competing. I'm just prolonging recovery.
Yeah.
I'm just pushing
Yeah.
recovery farther and farther by doing that.
It's true. So, what
Mhm.
would be your biggest piece of advice you would give someone who just got injured, who thinks that it's over for strongman or strong woman? Like what would you say based on everything you've gone through and then where you're at right now?
I think just recognizing that don't get
How
caught up
about
in time.
I say what I want you to say that again, but like what kind of advice do you need to hear?
I know. That's the other piece. It's easier if I say it in the perspective of somebody else than myself. The advice I give myself is suck it up and do it. Just kidding. That's the worst. Um, just do it. Who needs a neck anyways? I'm just going to 3D print a vertebrae, throw it in, call her a day. Sounds legit, 2026, we can do these things. No, but looking at not like, don't get caught up on the timelines and don't rush the timelines. Um, give yourself the time to heal, like being kind with your body, because the more you rush and the more you push, and we're in a sport that it's so big to compete through an injury. And I've done it many times. I competed right out the hospital after rupturing a cyst. Like I did so many of those things. But when I look back at those shows, I'm like, yeah, I can say like, oh, I endured and I pushed through. but I didn't do well. I didn't meet my expectations and I beat myself up for it after. So understanding that it's okay to take a step back. You're not going to be forgotten. You're not going to miss out. You're not going to have to retire, even if there's complications in your recovery. If you really want to get back to it, take the time absolutely needed to recover, to make sure that you're coming back safe. You're coming in an unsafe sport, great, you know, but make sure you're coming back as safe as possible for the sport we compete in, and make sure that you're taking the time for your body to heal and taking the time for your mind to heal.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
make
that's a big one
help
too.
with the mental side.
And I mean, if not, there's always adaptive.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. It doesn't end. Well, that's the thing, is there's always a place, there's always something that we can do.
Yeah.
But just take the time, be patient with yourself, and know that when you do come back, it's going to be that much better instead of coming back. But also don't be afraid to come back.
And I think too, a lot of people forget because this is something that I've had to relearn or just refresh my memory on is rest is put in the program too.
Mhm.
Like rest is in there as part of the program. And if you take rest for granted, it's going to kick you in the ass in a way that you will not appreciate because resting is just as important as performing and competing. Because when your CNS is so jacked up from the whole season, from doing 9 comps in 1 year, your peripheral nervous system is like, it needs a chance to just chill and relax. So rest is part of being an athlete, and that's hard because like we don't know how, like we're so revved up, like our central nervous system is so jacked, and then the off season, that's when people experience post comp blues because they don't know how to rest. But I mean, from my experience too, it's hard to rest, it's hard to come out of that. So rest is built into the program, and that's something that I've had to tell myself is on a rest day it's okay to take a few naps instead of going to the gym. Take a nap if your Vyvanse will allow you, but yeah,
Yeah.
rest is built in and it's part of being an athlete. And if you want to sustain yourself long term, you have to take those 3 to 6 minute rest breaks in between sets. You have to take your rest seriously. You have to take your rest in sleeping seriously. You have to rest. So yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
Especially like when you factor in everything else outside of life too. Like
Yeah.
taking the recovery seriously, because then I work shift work. I don't work night shifts right now, thankfully, but I work 12-hour shifts in crisis response. So my CNS is jacked all the time from my
You
career,
need it.
from my ADHD, my Vyvanse, and things like that. So it's like, even like recognizing the nuance with all that kind of stuff, and where to
Yeah.
build that rest in, and where your body may take longer sometimes depending on what your life looks like outside of training, out of competing, out of any of
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, and being patient with that and understanding that, and
Yeah.
especially
Well, and
messing with
that's
my
where
neck
a
for the whole
sports
year.
psychologist comes into play too. Because, like,
Mhm,
for people like you and I who are professionals in this sport and we take this very seriously, it's important to have someone like that on the team. Like, I've been lucky enough to have Amelia from Cerebral Wellbeing. She's a clinical psychologist. She's been very helpful in teaching me how to rest and what to look for and stuff like that. So, we can't do this alone. We need a team.
mhm. Yeah.
Tell me what comps you're looking at, because like I know we have a bit of a timeline for recovery, but like doing things for fun. You almost did Battle on the Brink that happened this past weekend.
Mhm.
But what comps are you looking at?
So I am looking at Westerns, like coming down for that. I really want to try to get back to SWIC this year. It was super weird not competing last year because I did my
Yes.
CSW in 2019 and then every single SWIC since. So I had a lot of FOMO and it was in my feels a lot about not being there. So I really want to go back, especially it's in Quebec City this year. So I'm hoping to get back to SWIC. That's where I won my pro card. So I feel like it's a good luck city for me. And I just love it there. It's
Yeah.
super pretty. So I want to do that. I usually jump the gun and start talking about competitions that I want to do. And then Terry has like 12 heart attacks. No, he has to remind me to focus on things day by day. And I get way ahead
One
of
at a
myself.
time.
Grand scheme of things, I do know that I really want to qualify for SWIC again. we'll see how things go after the cortisone injection and what the reality of things are going to be like, and the physio and everything. If I do the OSG qualifiers, I'd love to go back to Florida. So we'll see. If not, it might be hopefully SWIC qualifier. Hopefully I qualify, go back to SWIC, and then set my sights on next year, opening up with the Arnold Pro Am. Deciding if I'm going to
Nice.
do the U82 at that one, or if I just want to say, whatever, and go into open, because I love me an open show regardless of what weight class I sit in. It just pushes me to be better. So yeah, that's kind of what's on the horizon for right now. But one of the mental pieces of things that me and Terry try to do is me not listing out 12,000 comps that I want to do before I even
Okay.
know the reality of
So
competing.
realistically, Swiwick is next.
Mhm. Yeah,
And then if that is a qualifying option, Swick is second. And then we go from there.
we decide from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I will also be with Terry on that and just say, okay, one at a time, please.
Yeah, he's been saying that for years. I'm finally starting to listen.
Yeah,
Kind of,
well,
kind of.
you're Italian, so. So, Stephanie, tell the people where they can find you and follow along on your journey and in your recovery and your strength journey.
On Instagram, Stephanie Biz Strong with an underscore after it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it. And it was really good to hear a little bit more in depth about what's been going on. So, because like before it was, yeah, it's just been really nice to catch up with you and see how things are going. So, thank you so
Yes.
much for listening. We hope you have a good rest of your day. Make sure you follow me, Jacked underscore Jackie on Instagram as well as TikTok. And we will catch you in the next one. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Bye.